Are you playing the intro, Jess, or am I waiting?
You want me to play it?
No, we don't have to. All right, well, let's start.
Steve P. The Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Let's go! Ladies and gentlemen, happy long weekend, both sides of the border. And you know what, I have to say, very excited to have Eric Engels on, Sportsnet extraordinary reporter for the Montreal Canadiens. And the reason we have you on, Eric, is because we didn't understand what the Montreal Canadiens were doing last week when they picked up Jake Allen. You tweeted,
but everyone else did.
Yeah. Like, we look at our comment section. It's like, Eric, it's like this. It's like, okay, we don't understand what's going on, so we're trying to work through it. And then all the Habs fans are like, you idiots, you don't know what's going on. I'm
it's
like,
so obvious.
Isn't it obvious? So, Eric, what did we miss?
I think on the surface, most people look at the Jake Allen deal and see that the Canadiens are paying close to $15 million for two goaltenders. So I understand where the confusion comes in. But that said, I think they have 18 players signed and $14 million in cap space. And the players they have left to deal with are Victor Mete and Max Domi, neither of which are looking at massive raises. So they have plenty of room to kind of clean up their roster, so to speak, and make some improvements. And they've addressed a massive need. One that they tried to do cheaply over the last couple of years, whether it was Al Montoya going back to 2017-18, to Antti Niemi, to Keith Kincaid, obviously low-risk gambles, but gambles nonetheless. You know, Jake Allen was relegated to a backup role this year, and he put up the best numbers of his career over 20 games. And if he can come anywhere close to doing that again, he's going to give Carey Price the rest that he so desperately needs. He's going to give Caden Primo time to develop in the American Hockey League. He's going to give the Canadiens solidity in depth in nets, and they've addressed a major need here. So that's why, you know, while you look at it on the surface and see the cap implications for two goaltenders, you know, Allen's deal is expiring, and the Canadiens are in a really healthy situation cap-wise to improve their roster.
How do you think that looks? Like, what do they go for?
Well, I mean, that's going to depend on what their conversations are like with certain free agents who could be available, to what's available on the trade market. You know, I know a lot of people might have thought they could have waited to see what would shake out in a saturated goaltenders market, but you look at the top end there, whether it's a guy like Khudobin or a guy like Thomas Greiss, they're probably looking at longer-term deals, given what they've been able to do before getting to free agency. And, you know, I think the Canadiens wanted that flexibility of Allen coming off the cap next year with certain contracts they have to sign, whether it's Petrie or Gallagher or Deneau or Tatar for that matter. So, you know, it's all about flexibility in this system, especially given the constraints of the salary cap and what's going to happen re-COVID, whether or not it's going to decrease over time, because we know it's going to be stable for at least the next year, but you know, we're in uncertain and difficult times. You know, the needs are pretty obvious for the Canadiens. They need some scoring punch up front, and they could use some size up there too. And if they can fill that within one player, you know, that likelihood is probably through trade. But I think they're going to be players in the Taylor Hall situation. I think they're going to look to upgrade up front, and they have the flexibility to do it.
Maybe as Leaf fans, we should understand not cheaping out on your backup goaltender and finding a Band-Aid solution for several years at a time. Do you know if Jake Allen's a guy the Habs looked at for a while?
I don't think so, Steve. I think, you know, they liked what they saw from him throughout the year. They've got pretty strong scouting presence, I would say, in that area. Scott Mellenby is not living too far away from there as the assistant GM of the Canadiens. You know, they know what they're getting. I think the rest of the league saw what they're getting as well. And here's a guy at 30 years old who, you know, it's as much about what he did in terms of his numbers. He got a .927 save percentage this year. And when he stepped into playoffs, say Price got hurt for whatever reason and they needed Allen to take over as a starter for a few games or a month or whatever it is, you know, he's shown, look what he did in the playoffs. He came in for 4 games and put up a .935 save percentage. And granted, it's behind a very good Blues team, but that Blues team was inconsistent at times, especially earlier this season and specifically in the playoffs. So, it's about what he does in terms of how he plays, but it's also about fit. You're getting a 30-year-old seasoned veteran who understands his role and how to play, and understands the value of being a good backup and a good teammate, and understanding that he's gonna have to play sporadically, and that he's gonna have to stay on, after practice with some of the extras and do all those little things that are often ignored, but are big parts of what it means to be a good backup goaltender in the National Hockey League. So the fact that he's accepting of his role, and it's not to say he doesn't want to be a starter again in the NHL. Of course he does. But, he knows what he's being brought in here for. And, when you hear the GM of the Blues, Doug Armstrong, say he's a tremendous professional and a great teammate, that's got to be music to Marc Bergevin's ears.
It's interesting because Montreal from the outside, and I know to you this is going to seem foreign because you are you cover them every day. You know them better than anybody. But for casual observers, they can be a bit of an enigma in terms of what are they? And not because the team doesn't have an identity. They certainly are developing a feisty reputation. They were so much fun to watch, especially against Pittsburgh. But even in the first round, they were Montreal Canadiens hockey is fun hockey to watch. And as a Toronto fan, that hurts me. But, it's good for the NHL. And I wonder, what do the Montreal Canadiens think they are? Because you've got some good young talent. You've got, obviously stellar goaltending. Probably, I don't know if you could call it the best tandem in the league. I don't know how you couldn't, though. What is the thing that they're going for? What's the identity that Marc Bergevin wants to put on this team where you play Montreal? What are you expecting?
Yeah, there's kind of two answers to that. First, the first question you asked is how do they see themselves? They see themselves as a team on the rise. And specifically after watching Jesperi Kotkaniemi and Nick Suzuki come to the forefront in the playoffs, those two guys played great hockey, and there's whether or not you believe they'll sustain it over an 82-game season. I mean, Nick Suzuki wasn't much of a surprise in the playoffs. I don't know about for you guys, but we saw what the potential was leading up to his rookie season. We saw it throughout the season. I think if you had assumed that Suzuki was going to play on the top two lines, that he was going to contribute, because he just has that, I don't know what you'd call it. He's just got that clutchness when it comes to playoffs. And yes, these were his first National Hockey League playoffs, but when you saw the way he dominated in the OHL and the way he rose to the occasion and raised up the level of his game, that wasn't so surprising. But, we talk about a team on the rise. Those two guys are at the foundation of it. Kotkaniemi coming back from a brutal sophomore season to do what he did in the playoffs is a great sign that he's going to fulfill the potential that the Canadiens saw in him when they drafted him third overall. And, those are foundational pieces up the middle for the roster. It changes everything. When you have a guy like Phil Deneau, who you can slot in at number 3, even if he's probably going to be playing middle 6 minutes, and you have a guy like Jake Evans, who's 23 or 24 and now is coming into his own after his rookie season, and looks like he's going to be a smart, heady, good fourth-line dependable player who can move up the lineup. You're set up the middle, and you look at the big three on defense, whether it's Weber, Petrie, and Sherrod, and the way Kulak played in the playoffs. Like I said, they're a team on the rise. They have some really good pieces. They need some more. They addressed a pressing need in nets. Their identity, like you mentioned, Adam, they're a feisty team. They're a no-quit kind of team, and that's somewhat how they have to play based on the pieces that they have. But if they can bolster it with, even one star up front, it would make a huge difference for them in terms of the effort they need to put out over an 82-game season. Because I think what you see is a team that has some pieces to help them get through the playoffs. They obviously need some top-end scoring there that's going to help in the regular season and the playoffs. But, you can't bring a playoff effort every night to an 82-game season. And when the injuries start to hit, you need the depth to shine through. So I think Marc Bergevin is going to have some work to do to solidify his fourth line. I think he's got to bring in a top-level scorer. And the defense has got some depth to it now with Alex Romanov coming up. So they're definitely a team on the rise. And they're a team that's not fun to play against. And they're fast. They're extremely fast.
From an ownership perspective, do you think Bergevin sort of maybe being given a nudge, a green light to spend big, because the Habs have money. They have 12 picks in this draft. 8 of them are in the first 4 rounds. They got space. Like, at some point, does Jeff Molson go to Bergevin and go, dude, spend my money?
Yeah, I don't – there's never been a harness on Bergevin in terms of being able to spend the money. It's just, it's easy to look back on the last 2 years and say, oh, they had, $8 million cap space and they didn't spend it. They were trying to get John Tavares to Montreal. He didn't want to take their call and went to Toronto. They wanted to take Matt Duchene. They couldn't get him. He chose Nashville. It's not as if they weren't willing to spend the money, but they weren't just going to spend it on anyone and just for the sake of spending it. They could have spent more on a backup goalie going back a year. They took a risk that Keith Kincaid could come back to the level we saw two seasons ago, and it didn't work out. So ultimately, Marc Bergevin, he's under no constraints here. I don't think he's looking at his cap situation and saying, I got to spend this money. That's the only way we're going to get better. I think he's looking at his situation and saying, wow, we're further along the path than I thought we would be based on the regular season. And because I have those 12 draft picks and 8 in the first 4 rounds, and I have one of what most people in the hockey world would call a top 5 prospect pool, and I have pieces getting later on in their years and a few free agents coming up next year, there's some incentive to kind of swing for the fences and make a big move happen and not just go shopping in the bargain bin. So it's going to be an exciting offseason for the Canadiens. I'm as curious as anybody in terms of how it's going to shake out. But Marc Bergevin has always said this, and I'm going to hold him to it. He says, you build your team in June and July, and then you got to live with it through the winter. And I think he's got a great opportunity to build in the offseason on what the Canadiens just did in the playoffs to give them that much better of a chance of becoming a perennial kind of playoff contender here and inevitably a Stanley Cup contender if the right pieces come into view. So it's a difficult job. It's a difficult task in terms of free agency. The Canadiens haven't had an easy time attracting players. But I think, now you look around the landscape, I wonder how many players out there who are willing to come to Montreal to begin with all the external factors, will look at players like Nick Suzuki and Jesperi Kotkaniemi and say, I could be playing with that guy. And that bodes well for my future too. So it's an exciting time for the Canadiens, I think.
Is Bergevin's future with the team in question at all? Because he's been there for 8+ years and they haven't won a playoff series in 5 years. So do you think management's looking at him and be like, okay, the clock is ticking here?
I mean, the clock is always ticking, but especially when your contract is up in 2 years. But that said, you kind of separate Bergevin's tenure into 2 sections, or even 3 for that matter. The first section, it looked as though he could do no wrong, and the team had great success, and obviously with a lot of inherited pieces from the previous administration. And then from the summer of 2017 onward, there was a few crucial mistakes made in free agency. They lost Andrei Markov and Alex Radulov and signed guys like Hemsky Strait and Karl Alzner and put themselves in trouble. They ripped apart the 4th best defensive team in the league and ended up with something nowhere near as good. And they really struggled for a bit. And since then, since his job was affirmed after they finished in 28th, following those moves, he's back to making a bunch of great trades and improving the team and sticking with his young prospects and not being willing to move for a quick fix. And, who's looking at the Canadiens right now and saying they're going in a direction that's anything but up? It is a tight league. It's a competitive league. So many teams are better than you assume they are, or some are worse than you think they are. But one way or another, they're all really close. So even if the Canadiens are on the rise, it's going to take everything they have to make the playoffs next year. But you look at the players that are coming in and the players that just took a huge leap this summer, it's a bright-looking picture. So in terms of Bergevin's security, it was there going into the offseason, even with a team that looked like it was going to miss the playoffs if not for COVID. And I think it's now, especially after those playoffs, as secure as it can be.
Eric, we love having you on because every time we do, we learn something that we hadn't even thought of before. And I know you want to get back to your long weekend, and I don't blame you. So I'm going to wrap this. However, one word answer: yes or no. Max Domi, is he a Montreal Canadien next year?
Oh, you're really going to limit me to one word on that?
I don't have to. Listen, I'm trying to give you the out so you can get out of here and you can be like, but
I'm not in a rush. I can't believe we didn't even talk about the Leafs.
Well, listen, if you want to talk, we'll keep you the whole time if you want to. Like, I don't want to rush you off. I was worried that you wanted to get back to your life and you're making time for us, and we're very appreciative of that. So Max Domi, the situation.
I have a bit more time. So on Max, I just want to be clear. Like, the Canadiens are not looking to move Max Domi just for the sake of moving Max Domi. And I can't speak to anybody in the organization telling me that they're actively looking to move him. What we do know, though, is that his position with the team is tenuous. You know, he is a center. Claude Julien says we view him as a center. He views himself as a center. And right now you have Nick Suzuki, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, Phil Deneau, and Jake Evans up the middle. So if you're going to keep Domi, he's going to be playing out of place on the wing where he's less effective. And they have some undersized wingers and an opportunity to potentially upgrade and get a player that's a little bigger and has that scoring ability and is a natural winger if they should choose to go in that direction and make a trade. So I can't say yes or no in terms of whether or not he'd be there. If I had to wager on it right now, I would say it's more likely that he gets traded than if he stays. But that could change really quick depending on a couple other moves that get made. So the most important part of the conversation here is they're not just looking to ship him out because they don't like him. They know he's a really good player, and they want to get a really good player if they're going to trade him. So it's going to be a dossier that we monitor pretty closely moving forward here.
Well, going forward, do you think he's more likely to play center or wing on the Zurich Lions?
I don't know where Zurich comes into the picture, but
you don't? You will. You will, Eric Engels. You will.
Darren Ferrisville.
Right. Got you now. I'm not. Honestly, one thing that I will say about Max, the guy loves the game. His teammates absolutely love him. He's a student of the game. When he's not playing, he's watching. And I don't think this whole situation sat well with him in terms of a down year in his production and the way the playoffs went, where we all know, his game is suited to being a game breaker in the playoffs. So it was a tough situation watching that unfold, the way he was plugged into the fourth line and then finally worked his way onto another line and had an explosive game and then nothing after that. It was a bizarre situation. But I'll say that I would willingly bet that Max is going to bounce back big no matter where he's playing next season.
So that means he's got a lot of value to them staying on the team or elsewhere, because you can never have too many centers, right?
They got former NHLer Marcus Kruger on the roster. They got Chris Baltisberger. Phil Baltisberger. I wonder if they got to be related, right? All right.
But
do you guys remember the last time we spoke? Do you guys remember what I said about the Leafs?
That they weren't very good?
You said they were really good and they were going to win the cup.
That you absolutely flippin' nailed it?
Yeah.
So nobody remembers, I guess?
No, I don't remember the exact.
Sorry, I didn't know that was a literal question.
I do remember, yeah. You're asking us to have a memory beyond the last 5 minutes, and all of us, except for Jesse, sort of struggle with that.
Sorry, I lost you.
What did you say?
Yeah, what did you say about the Leafs?
Eric, what did you say?
We spoke right after – I think we spoke right after that 8-6 Carolina-Toronto game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I remember saying this team could outscore anyone. And I'm willing to absolutely go mea culpa if they end up shocking and going against the conventional wisdom that they can succeed in the playoffs playing the way they do. but they played defense like a junior hockey team, and I'd be really shocked if they made it out of the first round, I think is what I said on your podcast.
Mm-hmm. Sounds familiar.
Now, I was quite surprised at how they played defensively against Columbus, but I was also equally shocked that they couldn't score goals. That was the part that really shocked me.
If they had scored goals, they would have won.
It's weird how that happens. Eh? Yeah. You score some goals, sometimes you win.
Just how do they end up in a situation where the one reason they can't advance is because they can't put the puck in the net? That was the part that has to sit so badly with Kyle Dubas and whoever else is in charge there. That like that's the one thing that this team was built to do. So it's confusing because I thought defensively I was really impressed with the way they played. I didn't think they had that in them, and I remember at the beginning of camp with the optics kind of changing and the things that Sheldon Keefe was saying in terms of like getting a defensive commitment in there. So I couldn't believe that they couldn't find the goals when they needed them. Credit to Columbus, obviously. Yeah,
it seemed too that like the series. I mean, you lose as Dubas said, you lose the series in Game 3 when you're up, and you allow 3 or 4 goals in a row, and you can't stop. The other thing is, Eric, when Jake Muzzin went down, it really changed the makeup of how the Leafs played defense, and I think that's sort of. And I'm curious to get your take on this because you watched a feisty team that plays a team game. And the Leafs have been rightly accused of not always playing a team game. You watched a team with objectively less talent go further. And against some pretty stiff competition like Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Chris Letang, and, whoever's in net for the Penguins, Matt Murray, whatever, it's a pretty tough. That's a pretty tough team. And then they steal a game, an emotional game in the first round as well. Like it was for Claude Julien. Like, I mean, it was for the Leafs, for me, the number one thing has got to be, first off, it's got to be the right side D. And I don't know how you spend the money that they have. But I also think that there is a glaring weakness between the ears with this team. There just seems to be something where they, and I know this happens with young teams, but there's like a lack of confidence. Does that make sense? Did you see that?
No, I mean, you got to get over the hump. Here's what I think about the Leafs. I think, obviously any upgrades they can make defensively, if they can get some nastiness back there and some big boys, it's going to help. I agree with you. Jake Muzzin is a key piece on that blue line in terms of the way he plays and the way he's committed to playing. The biggest takeaway for me, and I don't want anybody to take this as a slight to Matthews because I thought Matthews stepped up and played great in the playoffs. But I think moving forward, they need to get into a room with Matthews, Nylander, Marner, if those guys are all staying, and they need to have a different mindset. They need a mindset where like this is their team. The team belongs to those 3 guys and Morgan Riley. And those guys have to set the example and the bar off the ice in terms of their commitment. And I'm not saying they don't work hard in practice and they don't work out. It's not about that. It's about being the top guys though in that department. It's about setting the bar for everybody else. And when I watched the playoffs and I saw Matthews take off and play the way he did, I was certainly impressed. Marner, obviously his production was underwhelming, but I don't think it was a question of him, underselling his effort. But I watched Tavares, and Tavares, his leadership, though muted in the room, is on the ice. He plays the way you want your players to play. He leads the exact right way for that team. But it's not, as much as he's the captain, like it's not his team. That team belongs to those 4 young guys. And those 4 young guys have to be the first guys on the ice and the last guys off and the first guys in the gym and the last guys out and the guys rallying the troops behind the scenes and guiding them through the tough moments and getting them to commit to playing more of a team game and a defensive game. And if they're not going to be those guys, this is never going to work. So I think that's the biggest takeaway for me. It's time for that hard conversation. And to make them realize, you think you're working hard, but there's a whole other level to it, and you should know watching John Tavares.
Yeah. The Leafs said the Leafs said Tavares was going to be captain no matter what before the Matthews story came out. Are they dirty liars?
No, I mean I don't think so. it's hard to sign John Tavares to the deal they signed him to, and knowing what he brings and what his pedigree is, and suggest that anybody else should be captain. I don't think they got that decision wrong, especially with just the way he leads on the ice. And I don't know that Matthews necessarily would be the best candidate to be captain, to be honest with you. Yeah. But I would love to see him emerge as that type of guy now. You know, that how old is he? He's 23?
I think so.
22?
I think he might have.
22. This was season 4. So, yeah, it's 22.
Like, how old are you guys? I'm 37. I know that, like, from 29. 20 to 23 – yeah, from 20 to 23.
He's 32, and so am I.
Matthews turns 23 in a week.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So I was mature as a 20-year-old, and then if you would ask me at 23 what I thought of my 20-year-old self, I would say, whoa, like I had a lot of growing up to do. It's just the normal, natural progression, especially for players that jump into the league at 18 years old. They're immediately superstars, paid millions of dollars. It takes a long time to mature and recognize just how much goes into becoming a champion at this level. And it's in your DNA or it's not, but there's some things that you can obviously improve on in terms of your attitude and how you carry yourself. And I'm not saying this to denigrate any one of those 4 guys. I think they're all solid guys, and my interactions with them, you know, especially with Riley, I came away very impressed. But at a certain point, like that's I believe, like you need to get them in a room all together and say, guys, like this is your team and you need to run it in every way. And the day that this team takes a leap forward is the day that it's not the coach coming in and delivering the message that resonates. It's those guys who say, like, we're going to do it this way. And that's what you want. That's what every organization wants. They want their players to take over the room. Even the most oppressive coaches, the John Tortorella types, they want the players to take over the room.
It seems like that's what Tampa's done recently.
Yeah, you know, that's what's happened. They have a great coach too, but yeah, I mean, they're those guys. You look at the way they came together, you know, prior to the Phase 3 training camp, and I know it led to some COVID situations, but yeah. There is a will there that is not just let's show up and play and we're good enough to win. It's they learned they had the hard knocks just like Toronto has, but certain guys emerged as key role players and took over the team. A guy like Braden Point, anybody would have looked at him coming into this season and said, okay, he's their second line center. He's probably the best second line center in the league.
Yep.
Except he's their first line center now because he just said, I'm going to be the best player on this team. That's what you need. That's what you need from these guys. And like a guy like Marner, I mean, he can take over any game he plays. There's no reason he can't be that guy who sets the example for everybody else and starts doing all the other things that come with assuming that leadership that you're getting paid for. And I think those guys have it in them, but the mindset and the mentality needs to change, and it needs to be driven home big time.
Eric Engels, senior columnist and insider for Sportsnet with the Montreal Canadiens and really around the league. Eric, I don't know if you ever have time to start a podcast, but God, I would listen to it. I could sit here all after, and I'm not just blowing smoke, man. I love talking to you. Thank you for making time for us yet again, because we love having you on.
I love being on with you guys. You guys are great.
Well,
so,
we know.
Hope, enjoy the rest of it.
You are welcome on anytime. And by the way, if you follow Eric Engels on Twitter, go for the hockey takes, but stay for the food takes. Because I don't know how you guys, like, I don't know who does the cooking in your house, if it's you and your wife. But my God, some of the meals you guys put together, there's not a chance I could ever even attempt them. But boy, do they look good.
It's all me, buddy. It's all me.
Attaboy. Well, I'm inviting myself over if we're ever allowed to travel again.
Anytime you're in Montreal.
Thanks, Eric. We really appreciate your time.
No problem. Be well, guys.
All right, buddy.
Take care.
Eric Engels, Sportsnet, and just, you know, God, I'm not kidding. I love talking to him. He's just the best.
That was fun.
Yeah, it's like him and CJ. It's just you realize how little you know. Do you know what I'm saying?
Real
fountains of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
I like talking to guys like Eric because they're a change of pace from the voice in my own head. Like, he's just so calm. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just outward and inward yelling all the time.
What do you think? Just to interrupt you for a sec, Steve. Jesse, what do you think it's like to live with the voice in Steve's head?
It's awful.
Ooh. I don't know. I think Mrs. Dangle would be the best person to answer that question because I think she's had some strenuous times over the last. How long has it been, Steve? 15 years?
How long have you been together? 13 years.
13. Yeah. She'd be the best person to answer that question.
Wow.
Yeah, but even she gets to like right now she's taking Leo out. Like I'm still here. I'm always with me. I don't get a break. I don't get ladies' night away from me. I've always got me. It's the worst.
It's led to a very successful YouTube channel. So
I'm just going to say, Interview has a very good sense of humor.
Yeah.
Hey, let's get to our Kellogg's Frosted Flakes Selly of the week, and I think there's only one choice for this, Steve Dangle.
It's very easy. It's very viral. It's very great. It certainly is.
Steve's great.
But you know who's even better, Tone? Joel Frosted Kiviranta of the Dallas Stars. Guy
that doesn't roll off the tongue at all.
Yes,
that didn't work.
Does.
No.
Yes, it does.
Even the Frosted Flakes people are like, I don't know, Steve. We could work on that.
That's adequate. And guess what? This dude who you've never heard of. No, you haven't. Shut your face.
Yeah,
have not heard of this guy.
Yeah,
Never.
Stop lying. Everybody on Twitter. Oh, yeah, I knew he was good.
Hockey hipsters here. Like, yeah, I've heard of him. Get out of here.
When he played, 9 games this regular season as a 24-year-old? Shut up. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Wasn't a player of, oh, yeah, you wait. This is a guy who's going to score a hat trick in a Game 7, including the OT winner. Mm-hmm. Get out of here with your takes on Joel Frosted Kiviranta. But this dude winning it for the Dallas Stars, sending them to the Western Conference Final. Absolutely my Selly of the week. His Selly on the ice, his teammate's Selly, and the Selly of one, I believe his name is Antti Mäkinen in Finland, the play-by-play guy who set us there.
Mm-hmm. How great was that call?
Just amazing. And naturally, him and CJ are friends because CJ is an international man of mystery.
Can I throw something out there? The network that he works for, it was like, and here's the call from Finland, and they ran it on Sportsnet, and I think it was like, and then it's like something, it's like Suomi Sport, but it's funny because Suomi is Finland, right?
Suomi.
But Finnish is so different from English. I'm surprised they use the word sport because it's an English word. But
it is. That was one of the weird things I learned. You ever learn a tidbit that has nothing to do with anything that you cannot shake? It's just
like what?
So I was taking this history course, and this teacher, for no good reason, was like, Finnish is one of the weirdest languages in the world because there's nothing really close to it linguistically, at least not even within the region.
There's no Latin connection too, right?
The closest language linguistically to Finnish, according to this one history teacher that I had once, is Hungarian.
Whoa, which is a wacky language. Holy.
And not near Finland.
Not at all.
So where did that come from?
Yeah.
It's just, but like, when you go, oh, that's the country Leo Komarov plays for, like it sort of starts to make sense. You're like,
can I play the call? Can I play the call?
Yeah, please. I think so.
We're just sponsored segment? Sure.
Pakki syvyyssuunnassa. Sekera juoksee maalin taakse. Kiviranta ja Hintsavat maalin edessä. Ja Kiviranta! Temppu täyteen!
Man, that's great.
Ja Kiviranta! Pönttöä.
That's a lot of fun.
So that wasn't the swear one. Good.
This is the funny thing is like we all everybody asks, how do we make hockey more exciting? How about an announcer like that?
Oh, easy.
I would love to hear an announcer lose it. Like I love hearing Joe Bowen lose it. It's great.
You imagine Jim Hewson one day just became that guy?
Oh,
completely unexpectedly, and like didn't start until the second period, like completely caught you off guard.
One of my favorite things about the Kawhi shot is the reaction from the ESPN announcers because it's just, oh!
I know.
That's literally just it. It's just a loud oh, and it's amazing.
Just because exactly, and just because you're covering the sport doesn't mean you still can't be a fan of the sport. You don't have to like I know there's certain reporters that take it very seriously. I'm not a fan of this team. I just cover this team. Fine, whatever. But like, if you're an announcer or whatever, why can't you get excited? It's that the whole point is that it's fun and exciting. But hockey's got this like, well, no, I have a disinterest in this team, even though I follow them every day.
Well, and the call, it kind of blends in better when they lose their mind, because what's the golden goal? What's the golden goal? Sidney Crosby, the golden goal in Canada, has once in a lifetime Olympic gold. I know that because I've watched it 1,000 times. Did anyone hear it the first time it was said?
No.
Nobody heard it. You went, ah! So for this guy, I'm almost more likely to listen to him freaking out. Like, I might mute my freaking out to listen to his freaking out, because he's at least on the same wavelength as me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. Well, and it's like the Dave Miller one, though. I think everybody, or Gord Miller one with Pierre Maguire at the World Juniors. I can. Like that one, I think people
because a bunch of analysis that no one is hearing. Absolutely no one. Country of 35 million people, not one of them is listening to the words coming out of my mouth. Thank you for that 30-second thing there. Next GM of the Coyotes. Like,
yeah,
seriously.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we sure will.
Yeah, so anyway,
Frosted Flakes. They're
great. Yeah. Sally of the week.
Sally of the week. And you know what? Since we talked about Dallas a little bit there, let's start with Dallas. Nathan McKinnon could have beat Gretzky's record, but his team just would not let him. You know,
well, his team, Adam, or the fact that Eric Johnson was hurt, the captain was hurt, and they were on Michael Hutchinson and net.
Those. Honestly.
I think it was that.
As soon as Grubauer went down in game one, I thought this is going to be rough. Not that Francouz is bad, but you just – because Francouz is actually a very good goalie and reliable and had great games against the Leafs, which really pisses me off. But, of course, here we are. The thing is, and I hate to say this because I know Michael Hutchinson's a good guy, okay? I know that he's a good guy. This is not a personal attack. But when you have a goalie like Michael Hutchinson in net, and you know how he played with the Leafs this year, and then you know how he played in Game 6, where it's like literally we need to outgoal their shots, right? You can't play your full game with a goalie like Michael Hutchinson in net. Now, he is the third stringer. You can try, but you're never going to play.
They allowed 5 goals.
You're never going to be at 100% with Michael Hutchinson in net, because you're always going to be worried about what happens if I fuck this up. When you've got Philip Grubauer in net, you're less worried about what happens if I fuck up this play and it goes the other way. And that's sort of where I thought, I mean, Dallas took over in game one and had, I mean, I don't want to take anything away from them because they were fantastic. But to say that Colorado was playing full Colorado Avalanche hockey in game 7, they just weren't. No, and they still scored 4 goals and still almost won. That's a great team.
This isn't how hockey works, but did anyone watch that entire series and come, well, the first few games were bizarre. I was amazed how much Dallas dominated Colorado. But did anyone watch the full 7 games and come away with the conclusion that Dallas is the better team? I didn't. I'm sorry. Yeah. Like Colorado, there's a reason I picked them for the Cup, because healthy, they easily win it, I think, or easily at least make it to the 3rd freaking round. Mm-hmm. And that's not to take anything away from Dallas. I mean, Radulov is amazing. Gurianov's amazing. Kiviranta is amazing. Khudobin has, you know, we're talking about Hutchinson. Dallas has been using their backup practically the entire time, but I just feel like healthy Colorado's such a wagon, but just what a cursed season for that hockey team, man. Cursed season.
I don't know if like better is probably not the right word, right? When we're comparing any two teams this deep in the playoffs, but I look at Dallas and I think that they're built to succeed in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So when I compare them to Colorado, I say, oh, yeah, I understand why they won, because this is a great defensive hockey team from the regular season that's come to the playoffs now and has been able to find offense. So they've been a complete team in every aspect of that. And I can see how when you're going up against these guys in 7 games that they're going to take 4 out of the 7 the majority of the time. Even though Colorado's there and they're going to outscore you, it's this Dallas team has found a way to just outmuster and outwill, which definitely plays a huge factor in the playoffs.
Of course, it's nothing to disparage them, but I just feel like Colorado is – I was thinking about it the other day. Who are the top 3 teams in terms of performance and just on paper? Like if they're healthy, everyone, it's your NHL 21 roster. And I came away with Tampa, Vegas, 2 teams that are still in it, and Colorado.
Yep.
But that's not how hockey works.
No.
Dallas won. There were 7 games. They won 4.
The best team doesn't win in hockey, and that's okay. That's what makes it fun. If the best team always won, we would kind of suck. Now
it would be boring. Like who? I'm sorry. If you're a Vegas fan, fine. Everyone should have been cheering for the Canucks because they were clearly getting killed.
Yes. Yeah.
They were getting killed.
It was the Thatcher Demko show for the last couple games, right? Like even in a 3-0 loss. We're getting to that though. Please don't put us there yet.
Sorry.
We're trying to segment this out. Jesse, you make a really good point. And it's funny that Steve is saying this about the Avs because earlier in the season, and I don't know if you remember saying this, Steve, but you were talking about how you thought Dallas was a candidate to win the Cup, and I thought you were crazy. And you said if they could ever figure out goal scoring, they'd be there. And the interesting thing about Dallas, too, is you got, frankly, like everybody still thinks of Tyler Seguin as a young guy. Tyler Seguin's in his prime now. He's a vet.
10 years? He was drafted 10 years ago.
I know. He always, he's one of those kids or guys that's like forever a kid, but he's not. And Radulov's in his mid-30s, and Jamie Benn's up there, and these guys know that the time is now. Whereas I feel like not that Nate McKinnon's a spring chicken. He's not. He's right in his prime years as well. But Colorado is still on the up, right? Dallas is
so good.
Dallas is so good. Dallas is a very, very good hockey club, this is where they're going to be. You know what I mean? Like these guys are maximized on their potential, maximized on what they are. They're playing a great system. They got a great goaltender. They got really good coaching. And they're, everything's sort of come together where like if you were to play this series again next year, I think Colorado wins. And I think they win it in 5 or 6. The reason for that is I think that Colorado's got another step to take. You look at what's another season for Cale Makar going to look like? What's healthy goaltending going to look like? Nazem Kadri, we got to see him through a couple rounds in the playoffs. What a stud. He's so great. And I think that's the thing with Colorado is the step is coming. You can feel it. It's going to be there. Dallas has made their step. And they are what they're going to be. And I think Vegas, it's interesting that they're going to be playing each other, and we'll get to our predictions in a second. But with those 2 teams playing each other, I think they're 2 teams that have max potential, as in they're at where they need to be to win the Cup. And it's sort of unstoppable force, immovable object. They are complete hockey clubs, and I think they're 2 of the most complete hockey clubs in the league, and that's what's going to make the West Final so much fun. But we'll get to that in a second.
Let's both.
And you brought up Radulov. Like Radulov, he was the ideal playoff player in that Game 7. Like he took some bad penalties, was in every play, and then he went out and scored 2 goals. Like he was a pest, and he was annoying. And he scored and was great offensively. That's a guy who knows what to do in these types of situations, and he bullied around the young team in Colorado.
He got a goal this series, I can't remember which game, that he deflected off of his own shoulder. Like just like exactly the kind of playoff goals you need. And by the way, he got a power play goal, I think at least one power play goal in Game 7 there. I do have to bring this up. Michael Hutchinson was a 770, I think, 3 on the penalty kill with the Leafs. I think he didn't allow a single one in like his one regular season game with the Colorado before that. But, dude, that goalie struggles, man. That goalie struggles. Not to take anything away from Dallas, but, oh, man.
So
I cheer for him, but.
Yeah, I also think, and this might be a reach, but there was a Dallas team in 2012 or 2013 that had Radulov and had a few other players on it that were that Nashville team. Excuse me, it was a Nashville team that had. Did I say Dallas? I meant Nashville.
Yeah,
the Nashville team of the either 2012 or 2013 playoffs. I can't remember if it was right before or right after the lockout. Where Radulov and a player, I think they went out to the bar, broke curfew.
Sergei Kostitsyn.
And because the Kostitsyn brothers were, loaded with talent. Radulov loaded with talent, but they were young and stupid. And going back to what Eric Engels said, I wonder, we're all young and stupid at a certain point. He's a lot younger. Radulov's now up there. This could be, you start to get into your mid-30s and go, especially as an athlete, this is going to end, and it's going to end very soon. So I better take advantage.
Yeah, 35.
And Radulov is 35.
34,
yeah,
sorry.
34.
He's got to do this. If he's going to do it, he's got to do it now. And that's
Adam,
why it focuses you, right? It's your brain that matures.
Adam, Radulov was a great player for the Preds, great young player for the Preds for 2 years, and then he disappeared to Russia for 4 seasons. The Preds had to beg him to come back. They had to work really hard, plays 9 regular season games, gets 7 points. In the playoffs, 8 games, 6 points. So they begged him. He was such an important part of their team, but he frigs off and he does all that stupidness in the club. Who's the coach who benched him? Barry Trotz. Might get a chance to play him in the final.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Barry Trotz was the coach for 20 years in Nashville. I think it was wasn't it 20 years?
Almost literally, yeah. Might have. It was close.
It was a long time.
Close to it, man. And they might meet in the final.
How cool is that? So it's cool to see a guy like Radulov because he's such a good player still. He reminds me a little bit. Now, Andy Pettitte was a lot older, but Andy Pettitte, when he was a pitcher for the Yankees, the second go around, and he was 45, and he had no power left, but it was curveball, changeup, curveball, slider, and he would mentally fuck with batters. And I feel like that's what Radulov is able to do now. He's such an effective player, and everything that I think Nashville hoped he would be, he is for Dallas, which is the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah, 10 years later, he's peaking.
Yes.
I really wish we got to see his full NHL career. The guy, he's only played 442 games because he spent so much time in Russia. It was hilarious. I still remember our conversations. Remember we were ragging on the Habs for talking about Galchenyuk not taking hockey seriously enough, and we're like, you signed Alex Radulov.
But at the time, what else did we have to go on?
At the time, it was absolutely a valid criticism, and Radulov has proven that he's not that guy anymore. And now look at him. He's a murderer on the ice. He's a great hockey player.
I'm not the guy who was at 25 either. Right?
No.
You change. That's what happens. Now, let's move on to Vegas, Vancouver. And Steve, you rightly pointed this out. How can you not cheer for Vancouver? But it was very clearly Vegas' series to lose, and they almost did. That last game was a stamp no, okay, we've had our fun, but this is our series.
Besser was so close.
He was close.
Twice. He almost scored in the final minute, too. He hit the post.
Yeah, but it was 3-0.
It was over.
I think it was 2. It was only 2.
Oh, wow.
There's...
Not every team is the league.
You ever watched hockey?
Oh, no. They got 14 shots, and it was so close when it was 3-0.
Yeah, right? That's the thing. It was, and Vancouver has a bright future. Here's my question. We'll get to Vegas in a second. Vancouver's the interesting one for me. If you are Jim Benning, and you need to put your phone away on July 1st anyway, or whenever free agency hits, what do you do with Markstrom? Have you seen enough from Thatcher Demko to go, okay, I think we could maybe use that cap space that we may have allocated for Markstrom to somebody else? Or do you want to have Markstrom Demko next season and take the risk of overpaying Markstrom a little bit and then having to try to offload him in a couple seasons because Demko is ready? Because it sure seems like Demko is ready, but I don't know if you can really know that off of a couple playoff games and the season that he had.
Here's what you're going off of. All right. So he's 24. He'll be 25 in September. Mm-hmm. He played 1 game in 17-18. We're not even going to look at it. 2018-19, he played 9 games, had a 9-13. Woo! And only 16 games in the AHL that season, 9-11. Oh,
this is Demko?
This is Demko.
Okay.
And this past season, he played 27 games for the Canucks, was a 9.05. But, and this is the funny thing about the playoffs. Yeah, it's sample size, but it's not just when the Canucks needed him the most. They were all elimination games. This guy, the Canucks somehow are not in the playoffs right now, despite the fact that the goalie they ended the playoffs with has a 9 85.
Small sample size, but yeah.
What? So what? They were all elimination games like that. It's so hard. It's so hard because you can't anoint a starter after 3 games.
But can you?
That's crazy. But maybe you can. Like, I don't know. It sort of feels like the mandate was going to be, listen, let Markstrom walk. He's going to demand so much money, and we're going to go young and net. It sort of felt like that before we knew Demko was a demigod.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now it just feels like, you know how goalies, you know, it's different mentally knowing that you actually have the net.
Yep.
Like this is the guy Martin Marincin beat twice in 2 seconds. You know that, right? Like,
oh, I forgot that.
He was
oh my God.
that whole game. Marincin hits the post and then beats him clean. Matthews scored the disappearing puck goal.
Yeah.
I think they beat him 2 or 3 times in the first.
Talk about things that will never happen again. Martin Marincin, 2 goals ever. Even over the season.
Like,
forgetting the same game.
I think they will go with him as the starter, but I think that was the plan anyway, and now they're just going to be more confident about it.
So we got a comment in our last YouTube video about you know, the total switcheroo on Markstrom and the views on him. People were like, "Wow, we're just going to ignore the fact that, you know," especially I think they were after me about it, like that Adam just did a total 180 on Markstrom, and meaning that I thought he was a big part of the Canucks' future. How are you going to re-sign him? And now I think, oh, it's Thatcher Demko, and you let Markstrom walk, and that's the way it goes, guys. In the playoffs, you change your opinion based on the results. Look at the results. Steve makes an incredible point. You have a goalie that's, what is it, 986 in elimination games? That's the goalie. And here's the thing. You've got a young core, Besser, Horvat, who's not actually young anymore, Elias Pettersson, everybody else. You know, it's not – the thing is, it's if you want that core to be together, it's time for Thatcher Demko to probably have the net, right?
I tell you what, I think, and I was texting producer Drew about this, the Avalanche should bring a Brinks truck full of money because they have the space and give it to Jakob Markstrom in free agency. Trade one of Grubauer or Francouz, doesn't matter. They're both more than capable as a backup or 1A, and cruise your way to a cup.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely what they should do.
Grubauer wouldn't be too bad with the Leafs in a tandem.
Well, I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. Listen, Markstrom was great in these playoffs. He was just let down by his team. He had a 936 despite the fact that the team in front of him wasn't good.
Oh, he was
sorry.
great.
That's Frederik Andersen I was looking at with the 936. Markstrom had a 919. Just to give Leaf fans a little something to chew on. One guy is a demigod who carried his team through 2 rounds, and the other guy is a piece of shit bum.
No, the other guy was playing the Columbus Blue Jackets.
The Leafs didn't score. Engels said it. They didn't friggin' score.
It doesn't matter. They were playing he's supposed to have a high save percentage against Columbus. One of the lowest. They were bottom 5 in scoring.
Also, no one's saying that Frederik Andersen is a bum.
No, they're just saying they didn't win elimination games.
We're saying they didn't win the series.
Yeah,
and it sucks because they should have won.
Stop. All right. Everybody needs to stop with the revisionist Freddie Andersen stuff.
Yeah.
Steve's walking around. Freddie Andersen's a very good goaltender, but to say that Freddie Andersen has performed the way the Leafs had hoped in any of the playoff series, save the Washington Capitals series, would be a lot. You know, there was games against Boston. You can't give up 6 goals 2 games in a row and hope to win a series against Boston. And they still managed to. Close.
Yeah, but
then there was like 6 goals, and then 7 goals in Game 7.
How long was Frederik Andersen in net when we went down to Boston to see the playoff game? Like a period?
Yeah.
Oh, like 5 seconds. He was terrible.
He would last 10. That's not acceptable.
No, it's not.
I know.
You got to play a game.
You can have one game.
I saw that stat, and I just wanted to be a dick. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, listen, I think who they're playing sort of matters. And that's what's killing me about like some of the you know, there are huge Freddie Andersen detractors. There are huge Freddie Andersen supporters. I tend to go up the middle. He's very good. You will get to the playoffs with Freddie Andersen. That's why I'm hesitant to get rid of him. However,
he looked good in Colorado.
Stop it. Another trade with the Avalanche that the Leafs don't succeed on, I'll be very upset.
We get Kadri back.
I think, yeah, maybe. Hey, listen, I'll take it. I look at it and I go, it doesn't with the Freddie Andersen situation, and I know we're breaking off from the Vegas series. We'll get back to it.
It's a topic.
It does seem like maybe both sides are a little tired of each other. Does it not feel like there's a change in the air? I don't know why. It just feels like both sides are kind of like, we're frustrated.
Here's my understanding is, we ranted about Mike Babcock not giving Frederik Andersen adequate rest.
Yep.
And a lot of that was Freddie. And it's not like Babcock was like, oh, we got to rest this guy. He wanted to ride the pony too. But Freddie wanted to play like 60 games. There was back-to-back games this year against the Avs and the Flyers where they lost one, and he said, no, screw that. I want the net back. And they gave it to them the next game, and they lost that one too. Not that they would have won.
Well, Hutch is going to go in. Come on.
So I think, there is some atrophy there. But, and this sort of came out with that Steve Simmons thing today. I don't know if we're going to talk about that, but there's no reason to trade Freddie for the sake of it, in the same way that there was no reason to trade Tyson Barrie for the sake of it. The Leafs have Freddie for another season. He makes $5 million. It's not breaking the bank for a starter of his quality.
No.
So we got so much time to debate Freddie Andersen. I don't know when hockey's coming back, and we got time for that.
We got time. Yeah, and you know what?
Listen,
let me just say
this. As long as it's not a friggin' is he going to Switzerland conversation, I think we're okay.
Oh,
By the way,
having this a lot.
You never know. It could be bad. Apparently his agent's Claude Lemieux. I didn't know that.
Well, just don't turn your back on him in negotiations. You know what I'm saying?
Hey! I get it, because he was a predatory player.
No, I think the thing I want to quickly say on the Leafs is, for anybody that missed it, Steve Simmons hinted at an article that Kyle Dubas is getting a reputation. A reputation. Guys.
Do you hear how older writers talk about him?
Okay, can I just finish this quickly?
No!
And then
no,
yes.
Here's another point.
For anybody that's not in market, there are a lot of people listening to this who are not Torontonians. So, like a lot. Like mostly
yeah, but they're orbiting around it.
So, Steve Simmons suggested that basically Kyle Dubas is getting a reputation for asking too high a price for his players. Like, how dare he get a first-round pick for Kasperi Kapanen? What a dick, said every other general manager that didn't get Kasperi Kapanen that wanted him. And that was what was suggested in the article this morning, which, again, listen, and Rachel Dory pointed it out on Twitter. Mark Hunter was Steve Simmons' guy. He's put a billion hit pieces on Kyle Dubas. Most of the time it's unfair. Listen, Kyle deserves some criticism, for sure. And we've criticized him at length. However, asking too much for your players and getting it is the kind of GM I want.
Like, you can't get what you're asking for if you have no leverage, right?
Yeah.
But the leverage with Barrie and the leverage with Andersen is we don't need to trade this player.
Yeah.
That's the leverage with Kerfoot. That's the leverage with Johnson. There's no need to trade any of those players. I personally would like it if he did, on account of you could probably get someone on defense, considering they have literally no right side.
Yep. Outside
of Justin Hall. But there's still free agency. There's still X. There's still Y. There's still Z. They don't need to trade any of those players. So Kyle Dubas, especially well before the draft, asking for too much. Yeah, that's how it works. That's how I just wish.
Steve, I want you to sell your house, but I want you to sell it at $50,000 under what most people would pay for it. You know why? Because I don't want you to develop a reputation.
Well, Adam, I hear your offer, and how about you go shit in your hat?
That's right.
Like, isn't that what and what I found funny. So people always, they're dying to leak this stuff to Steve Simmons, and they're dying to, different league execs and scouts leak this stuff to Simmons and some other more senior writers out there. And then they wonder why Kyle Dubas doesn't call them when he has a wicked offer on the table from Jim Rutherford. You're assholes to this guy. Like, I know he's not part of your little friend group. Like, he's not in your WhatsApp chat or whatever. Maybe most of the other GMs are. Kyle Dubas is the GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and if you want to make deals with him, maybe stop being such a dick to the guy.
I don't think you need to worry about that as a journalist. It's not
not
really
as a journalist. Not as a journalist.
Oh, you mean like GMs?
Steve can write whatever he wants about.
So you mean GMs? You mean GMs?
I'm talking about GMs. No. Yeah. Steve is just writing what he's being fed.
Mm-hmm.
So another GM. Yeah, another GM. Oh, why didn't he call me? Because you're a dick.
Why didn't you call him if you wanted the player? What are you waiting for? I don't understand this. Like, why are people upset about a playoff trade? I don't understand. It's legal. You're allowed to do it. Why wouldn't you take advantage?
One of the 8 teams remaining in the playoffs was mad. At least one of the 8 teams remaining in the playoffs was mad. Dubas didn't call them. Like, what were you on the ice? Like, what? Oh, my team's in the middle of the play. You weren't on the ice. You weren't on the ice.
If you're one of the 8 teams remaining, you can't give them a first round pick like the Penguins can.
I wanted to show you my adorable son. That's
okay.
all. Listen,
that's what I mean.
You can't see that, Steve.
Yeah, half the audience cannot see that. If you could not see, Steve held up a picture of Leo, just so you know.
He's adorable.
But the thing is that, like, if you are a playoff team still, if you're one of the 8 teams remaining when that trade goes through, you couldn't offer them, unless you offered a really good prospect, could not offer them a better first round pick than the Penguins could.
And you also can't offer anybody off your roster because they're all on the ice.
Yes.
So you're kind of limited here.
Yeah. And you know what? Boo fucking who? You're in the second round. The Leafs aren't. Like, really? What are you complaining about? You're in the second round.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. Listen, Simmons doesn't like Dubas. That is obvious to everybody. And what we saw from the end of season press conference is the feeling is extraordinarily mutual. They don't like each other. What I have a problem with is other league executives whining that he didn't call them when it seems pretty obvious, like he knows you don't like him.
Well, if Brian Burke... go ahead, Jesse.
If we asked Steve Simmons that question, what do you think he'd say? If we said, hey, do you have an issue with Kyle Dubas?
I think he would never...
He'd say no.
Yeah. He'd say I have an issue with the way he runs the team or the players he gets or the way he manages probably. Steve always claims that it's not personal. And I don't know that it is. I think he's just, I wouldn't think it's personal. Like, having met Steve, Steve Dangle. I didn't get the sense that Steve Simmons was a particularly vengeful guy. I just think he doesn't like what he doesn't like. And he's snarky.
Yeah. You have to understand our complicated relationship with Steve. He was extremely kind to us, but we just disagree with him on a lot of things.
Everything.
But like,
literally everything.
One of the things he said though on our show is because Kyle Dubas had not Kyle Dubas.
It was Nonis back then.
I think it would have been Dave Nonis hired Sheldon Keefe.
Yep.
To be head coach of the Marlies, and he back then, this was 2013 or 14, was like, I have no time for him.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, it's this guy who Steve thinks is 23 and Sheldon Keefe. Running the show, like,
yeah,
he very clearly doesn't like what's going on, but he would tell you it's maybe on principle and not personal.
But I'm
just saying I'm skeptical of that.
and I've said this from the beginning: the Leafs could win the Stanley Cup, and the next day Steve Simmons will post an article about why they won't win it again. Why? Because people will read it.
He's not a stupid man.
No, he's not.
No,
he's
no
not.
one's saying that. Yeah.
No, well, there's a lot of people saying that, but
that's true.
but to suggest that he is stupid. Here's the other thing you got to keep in mind. So everybody thinks that Steve Simmons is like really in with the old school hockey world. Ask Brian Burke how he feels about Steve Simmons. He does not like him.
No,
at all. And that had to do with the fact that Brian Burke was in Afghanistan with Canadian troops on July 1st, and Steve said, well, shouldn't you be trying to sign free agents? And that was the Brad Richards year. And thank God they didn't sign Brad Richards. But that was the fight there. So, that's just the way, that's the history there. So it's sort of, everybody sort of feels that way, and it is what it is. Let's move on. Let's talk about Vegas just a little bit here. I mean, don't they just look like the Stanley Cup contenders that they've looked like all season?
They're so good. And every now and then a video, there's videos that go around hockey Twitter every day, and like, you know, they give us laughs, or it's controversy, or we're debating a hit or something. Dmitry Filipovich, and the little compilation he made of Mark Stone, made everyone stop and go, holy shit.
The stealing the pucks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
that's it.
That's it. Those compilations are so much better than just watching a guy score goals or make saves. Because with Mark Stone, and he was good at leaving the clip long a few times, because he's like, look, here's him scoring a goal, here's him stealing the puck, and then it led to 2 scoring chances. That is a truly elite player in the NHL, and Jeff Marek was all over this during the Marian Hossa years. It's unfair that the Selke trophy can seemingly only go to a center. If there was ever an argument that it should go to a winger, how is Mark Stone not the first winger to win the Selke since like Yuri Lettinen or whoever it was? That dude is an unreal player. Max Pacioretty has flown under the radar. Jonathan Marchessault is so good. Ryan Reeves is always a factor, although he won't be in the first game. Mm-hmm. And Shea Theodore, who was a young player in the 2018 Stanley Cup Final. I didn't like his 2018 Stanley Cup Final.
I don't think he even played much, did he?
He did. I just remember a lot of mistakes. Mm-hmm. And now
he's 22.
He's a wagon. He's so good. They're getting great goaltending. They have a starter who is currently on the bench in place of the better goalie who they got at the deadline. They're just so good. And they still play. It's like they play with a dash of Pete DeBoer, and they're still this Gerard Gallant wave after wave after wave team that they were.
Would you say
inaugural year?
They play with the sword tip of a Pete DeBoer?
You see,
just a little slice of DeBoer, a little stab, maybe.
Just a little.
How's it going?
No, Siri's recording you now.
You okay?
That's great.
Pete DeBoer, by the way, 4-0 in Game 7s.
Really?
The man doesn't lose in Game 7s. Hasn't lost yet.
And the skeptic says, only 4 Game 7s.
Because they can Pete to score. You know what I'm saying?
Hey!
Now, I do want to mention that, you know, despite Alan Vigneault spending 20 hours a day on video footage and the other 4 playing hockey,
the Flyers still got killed.
Man, I was all on the Flyer bandwagon. And I think Barry Trotz is my favorite coach ever. I don't know if I've had an attachment to a coach like I have to Barry Trotz. Not because the Islanders aren't great, but man, you really see the difference, right? Like you see, this is a composed, brilliant team that just smothers you. It's great.
Well, it needs buy-in, right? And, you know, we were talking about the Preds, right? The 2012 Preds that Barry Trotz coached. There wasn't a total buy-in. Radulov was friggin' off doing his own thing. Kostitsyn, there's a hilarious clip out there of it was like a 3-on-3 coming the other way, and Kostitsyn just goes to the bench, and you see the whole bench going, "What are you doing?" And then it's an odd man rush, and they get scored on because, of course, they did. They had a defender just leave for no good reason. They didn't have total buy-in, right? Mm-hmm. So, and you might go, "Oh, well, that's Barry Trotz. You know, he can't get through to his players." You can lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink. And the Islanders are hydrated. they are well hydrated, this team. I compared them on Twitter, and I saw that you liked it there, Adam. You know, we talk about the Islanders being boring. Now, I'll just say it. I watched 3 Game 7s this past weekend. That was the least entertaining one. That does not mean they're not a good hockey team. I watched the Colorado Avalanche versus Dallas Stars. Chris Johnson called it a sugar high in his article that he had today. It's kind of like watching a lion chase an antelope. That's who's not watching that. It's crazy. Then there's what was the other Game 7? We had Vegas, Vancouver. It was Demko versus the World. The Canucks versus the World. It reminded me a lot of the 2013 Leafs, where I was like, okay, one team is clearly getting killed here, but if Vegas slips up once, might go in the net. And Besser had that crazy
Don't insult
chance.
Vancouver like that. That was a bad team that got lucky and with a great goalie. James Reimer was outstanding.
Cool. The first goal that went in Game 7, the shots were 33-13. Sorry that I was reminded of a team that consistently got outshot.
No, I'm not. No, I just think Vancouver has way more talent than the Leafs did.
Oh, 100%. Of course they do, but they got killed. Right. And what the Isles remind me of, because I had someone tweet me today, they're like, well, the Islanders, I think they lead the playoff in goals or something like that. And, you know, we're talking about efficient predators. I made a video today. I was talking about lions. I was talking about crocodiles. The Islanders are the Komodo dragon.
What kind of video did you make?
Yeah.
For Sportsnet, it just went up.
Like a Stevie video or a video about the zoo?
Yeah, Stephen Attenborough. Watch the gazelle.
Islanders are the Komodo dragon. They bite you. It is
do it in your Attenborough voice, or you don't do it at all.
Yeah, or just
do
shut up.
Go.
The Islanders approach.
It's good.
They bite their prey in the leg. It is uneventful. They retreat from the attack, and their prey goes on about their day. And then the next day, slowing down evermore, and the next day until their heart stops and they are no more. That's the Islanders.
I like that.
That's the
What do you
Islanders.
give that out of 10?
Out of 10?
Yeah, out of 10. What do you give
It's
that?
too poetic.
Solid 8.
Solid 8. That's not bad.
All right.
For on the spot, I was impressed. Solid.
Yeah, me too. That was good.
It's watching a Komodo dragon kill its dinner is not exciting television,
No.
but it's efficient as shit. They nearly no energy to do it. Now I'm getting away from the comparison a little bit, but their venom slowly kills you and then you die and then they eat. The Islanders are eating. Okay. It's not an insult to call them efficient killers. They are. With the Caps, they pick them apart. With the Flyers, it's a miracle the thing got to 7. But please, for entertainment's sake, we need Tampa to win.
Yeah. Yep.
But you know, people were like, well, don't you appreciate, you know, the beauty of how they play? Of course I do. Of course I do.
Yeah, just say it's the most exciting thing in the world, though. I don't think anyone's going to claim that, except for Islander fans.
Well, and they're cheering for the Komodo dragon.
Yeah.
Yep. And what's their mascot? Sparky the Dragon. I'm on to something, man.
Oh, I thought it was the Buick in their stands.
Yeah.
Oh, is it a Buick?
I don't know what it is.
In 1982, my son was conceived in the parking lot of.
Hey, okay, so just quick, guys, I want to get your picks because we're going to move on to the NHL Awards next, and then we're going to do the press conference. So real quick, you got in the Eastern Conference, you got Tampa Islanders. Who do you pick and how many games? Starting with you, Jesse.
I wanted to look up what car it was in the Brooklyn.
Okay, so Steve, we're going to start with you because it's really important that we get that car right.
Yeah. Damn it.
It's a Buick Enclave. No, I'm kidding. I have no idea.
Tampa in 6, I say, and this isn't me sleeping on the Islanders. They have not played a team like the Lightning. The Caps were obviously shaky heading in. The Flyers were obviously not the team that they went into this pandemic as. They haven't faced a team like the Lightning.
Have the Lightning faced a team like the Islanders, though?
Yes, they have. The Columbus Blue Jackets, but I would say the Islanders are a better version of them.
Okay. Jesse. Sorry. Continue, Steve. I didn't know if you're not.
Oh, are we just doing that series?
No, we're going to do the other series, but I want to go around the room on this one first and then around the room
Jesse.
again. Jesse, go ahead.
Islanders versus Tampa.
Yes.
That's what we're doing.
Durs, Lightning.
Did you even find the answer?
First, we need a pause and congratulate myself. I went 4-0 in the conference semifinal.
Oh, Jesse Blake.
Thank you. I don't get picks right very often. So now that I went 4-0, I would like my congratulations.
Congratulations.
You've accomplished so much.
Thank you. I am going to select the Tampa Bay Lightning because I think I don't think the Islanders can keep it up, and I just don't want them to do it in my heart. I don't want them to lose John Tavares. I don't want them to lose John Tavares to my team and then keep winning and go all the way to Stanley Cup Finals. So I'm going to root for the Lightning, and the Lightning are going to do it in 6 games.
Typical Toronto guy cheering against the blue and orange team hoisting the cup in Edmonton.
I am going to say Lightning, but I'm going to say Lightning in 7. You know why? Because we're Leaf fans, and it has to be painful. It has to go to the absolute last second. It's going to be Game 7 overtime. Lightning are going to win, but it's going to be one of those things where Islanders fans are going to be all over us. And I woke up this morning with like ding, 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 ding in my DMs, like, see, we got you. Everybody was very nice, but it was all like, I don't blame them for like, if you're an Islander fan, you should be in my DMs making fun of us, like totally. But I think it's going to be the Lightning as well. And it's not because I don't think the Islanders won't eventually get there. I think Tampa's the better team, and I think this has got to be their time. Now, I don't know if they win the cup, but I definitely think this has to be the year they go, right? This has to be it, right? So
they're the best team in the East.
The best series by far is going to be Dallas-Vegas. I mean, that's going to be a tough series. 2 complete teams at max potential. Right? That's what we're looking at. So we know Vegas has got a bit more of scoring touch, but we also know Dallas is probably better on defense. Who do you give the edge to?
I just don't really perceive a weakness in Vegas, really. It's not just, the unstoppable force part of them. Their decor is solid. They got a guy who was nominated for the Vezina last year, and behind him, they got a guy who's stolen series in recent memory. I don't perceive a weakness in them. I think they're going to beat Dallas. But
how many games?
No, wait. I have to be consistent with what I said in the Sportsnet video. Because the Dallas Stars have been jerks, and in their series against Calgary and in their series against the Avalanche, I predicted they would lose, and they put me in their video both times on Twitter.
Oh, that's amazing.
Dallas in 7.
Oh, wow. All right. Jesse, what about you?
After DeBoer reunited Carlson, Marchessault, and Riley Smith, and they absolutely dominated in Game 7, I'm not going to vote against Vegas, so I'm going to go with Vegas in 5.
Whoa.
For the Stars.
I'm going to go with Marchessault needs to chill in his Instagram comments, and if you've seen what I'm talking about, you know what I mean. But I'm a big Marchessault player guy. I really think he's amazing. I think it's going to be Vegas in 6. I think Dallas is going to make this very, very interesting. I really do believe, though, that what it comes down to for me is, you saw what happened with Colorado. They lost a goaltender and then they lost another goaltender. If Vegas loses a goaltender, they've still got Marc-Andre Fleury, even if he's got a sword wound that he's recovering from. And I think, this is a guy that took them to the finals before, has been many times, has won 3 cups. Or 2 cups. 3 cups. This is a guy that's been there. If Robin Lehner goes down or doesn't play well, they've still got Marc-Andre Fleury. I just think that that's the thing. So Vegas in 6 for me. Just saying. Now, guys, we're going to move on quickly because we got to get through this quickly so we can match the time that we need to do. And this is really difficult for us because moving the show along very quickly has been a challenge for me in the past. Press conference after this.
Adam, but first, I need to talk about the 2010 Leafs.
Please do. Please compare them to a team in the playoffs now.
Glad you asked.
Yeah, so
there are none left.
Starting today, we're going to start to see NHL awards handed out because obviously they can't do a show. So there's going to be one award every single day. So we got one today, we got one tomorrow, we got one the rest of the week. And going into the Stanley Cup Finals as well, some of the major awards will be awarded. So I'm going to go through. I'm going to tell you who's nominated, and I want you to just give me your pick on who and why wins each award. So starting with tonight, the King Clancy Memorial Trophy. Now, bonus points if you can tell me what the King Clancy is for. Steve, can you tell me what the King Clancy is for? Jesse, can you tell me? Because I sure couldn't before this morning.
I believe it is for humanitarian efforts.
Jesse, what do you think?
Supporting your community.
Best exemplifies leadership qualities on and off the ice and has made a significant humanitarian contribution to his community.
Combined, we kind of nailed it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Half points to both of you. So we've got Matt Dumba, Henrik Lundqvist, PK Subban. PK, who could be perennially in this because.
Can you give me those names again?
Matt Dumba, Henrik Lundqvist, PK Subban.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if you'll have the answer to this. So these trophies are always regular season based?
Yes.
So this is the problem, right? I know Dumba has been very charitable. Lundqvist has been very charitable. Subban has been very
always
charitable. If you're including the playoffs, which obviously you can't, certainly it's got to be Dumba. I'll say Dumba, but I mean, really, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'll say Dumba.
Jesse.
I'm going to also go with Matt Dumba just for what I've seen him do in the recent months. I know it's probably been already voted on, but I hope he gets it.
Because it's already voted on, I'm not going to pick Matt Dumba, although I think he deserves it. PK Subban, because you can't argue with $2 million for a kid's hospital every year. It's amazing what he has done with the charity that he has done. It's really, truly. There is no wrong answer here with Matt Dumba or PK Subban. Both great, both charitable, both forces in the game. So whoever wins this one, it's going to be one of those two guys. It has to be. Bill Masterton.
Sorry, I do want to say one more thing about PK Subban. So a lot of people love to jump in and go, he's not donating $10 million to a children's hospital. He's pledged to raise $10 million for a children's hospital.
So what's the difference?
To me, that's semantics. And also, raising $10 million is incredibly hard. We helped raise $100,000 for a charity, and it took 4 months of effort every single day.
Yeah, but Steve, he's rich and he knows rich people.
Yeah, great. That makes him a great candidate to raise $10 million.
Right. I'm just saying.
If PK Subban pledges to raise $10 million, it means something because he might actually do it.
Yes.
If I pledge to raise $10 million, I got news for you. There's going to be a very disappointed hospital. Also, I'm not going to be able to pull it off.
Going to be Scott's Tots.
Yeah. That's a great episode of wow. Yo, I gotta say, anybody that wants to argue that semantics, you suck. Who the hell? Really? Is that what you want to argue? Can't we argue about Frederik Andersen's save percentage or something? Seriously, pick any other argument other than raising $10 million for a kid's hospital isn't impressive.
I'd rather talk about Coyotes ownership.
Yeah, thank you. Bill Masterton announced tomorrow or Monday, depending upon when you're listening to this. Now, this is the National Hockey League player who best exemplifies the qualities of perseverance, sportsmanship, and dedication to hockey. I think there's a lock on this one, but it's Stephen Johns, Oscar Lindblom, or Bobby Ryan. And to me, it's got to be Oscar.
Wow. Those are three extraordinary candidates. Stephen Johns, I think, missed a year or two of hockey. Bobby Ryan, obviously his battle with addiction and then coming back and didn't he get a hat trick in his first game back?
Yep.
And then Oscar Lindblom, I think, probably was going to win it anyway. Mm-hmm. But then the fact that when I saw him taking warm-ups for Game 5, I thought that was just a morale booster. I didn't know he was going to play in Game 6 and 7. That was astonishing to me. So it's Oscar Lindblom easily, but three incredible candidates.
Now, the Willie O'Ree Award, we're going to skip because it's a community award in here. And I don't think that we need to have a hot take on three people from the community who've done great things to raise money for hockey. Look into the stories, celebrate these people. Whoever gets it deserves it, but all three do. I don't need to be I don't need to compare your charity to my charity. You know what I mean? There's nothing to be gained out of that.
Even the Masterson one, I'm I think all three guys did something great.
Right, but I think it's important that we give those backstories, right? It's
we're not debating which accomplishment is better, coming back from substance abuse or cancer, We don't need hot takes on that.
It goes back to the thing Greg Wyshynski says. He always imagines Bill Masterton going, "Oh, wow, yeah, very interesting. You came back from a broken wrist. I died."
Jesus.
Which it's a bit of a dark joke, but he always makes it. Adam, who are the three names? We don't need to debate them. I just want to know who the three names are.
Oh, great. You caught me flat-footed on that one. I'll just have to look it up. Give me 1 sec.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
No, we don't.
Damn it, Steve.
Yeah, well done, buddy. Now I look like a gigantic asshole. Oh, you don't even know their names.
No, guys, we don't need to discuss this thing because I don't know. I don't even know.
You know, it's weird when you're trying to lead a discussion. You're like, hey, let's not discuss the. Okay, so it's now I could be pronouncing these names incorrectly. Excuse me if I am. Please look up these stories. Dampy Brower, Alexandra Briggs-Blake, and John Hafferman are the three people that are nominated. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. With an award like this, because there are other awards where they don't have nominees, and we'll get to those on the list. Do you need to have three nominees? Or can we just
have a winner?
Have a winner. Yeah, but I guess it is an opportunity to celebrate three amazing stories too. So I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is there. That you just whatever.
Sure.
Let's move on to the Jack Adams Award, which should be awarded, if I'm correct, on Wednesday. We've got Bruce Cassidy, Torts, and Alain Vigneault, 20 hours a day. There's no question that Torts and Vigneault have to be the two guys that you look at most closely. Obviously, Columbus was decimated in the offseason, losing Panarin and Bobrovsky. No matter how Bobrovsky performed afterwards, he was still a major part of that Columbus team. And, you know, the fact that Alain Vigneault has taken, finally, the Philadelphia Flyers, who finally are performing the way that we thought that they probably could if they just got a goalie. Who do you give that award to, guys?
Jesse, you go first this time.
Easy. Bruce Cassidy gets it.
Oh.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of the championship team coming back and running it back and finishing number one. Last year, the Boston Bruins were in the Stanley Cup Finals. It was kind of unexpected. We didn't expect this run for the Bruins to last, like, what has it been now, 10 years?
Yeah.
They've been on top of the standings. And if you go to the Stanley Cup Finals and then you finish the regular season number one, I think you deserve to be the best coach. You had the best team last year, and second best team last year, and you come back and you're the best team again. You deserve to be rewarded. I think Bruce Cassidy deserves that Jack Adams award for being the best.
Now, Steve, who normally wins the Jack Adams Award? To Jesse's point, and Jesse, I know you said that so we could say this.
Yes.
The Jack Adams Award is the look at you go award.
It's the team that surprises the most, right?
We expected you to suck, and you don't suck, so here's a trophy.
So John Tortorella wins.
Easily. I will also pick John Tortorella.
Yeah, the Flyers, I didn't expect them to be as good as they are, but not awful. The Bruins, I expected to be the Bruins. The Blue Jackets, I think we can say it was a surprise. They were as active in the playoff conversation as they were, let alone in it.
We expected them to be contenders for the number one overall pick. That's what we expected.
Dude, they lost Bobrovsky and Panarin.
Yeah.
Two guys who this past offseason went on to make $21.6 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
It's very rare you lose $21.6 million worth of free agent in two guys. Now, one was ass, but the other was a heart contender.
Yeah, but he wasn't ass when he was on their team.
That's an important distinction, Adam. Important distinction.
The Frank J. Selke Award, the award that, Steve, you mentioned this, will forever, for me, be associated with Jere Lehtinen. Because for whatever reason, Dallas was amazing as I was coming up and actually watching hockey for the first time, and Jere Lehtinen was the guy that always won it, and he was a winger. We got Patrice Bergeron, Sean Couturier, and Ryan O'Reilly.
Can I just say that maybe aside from the Norris, the Frank J. Selke Trophy is the most lazily voted award in hockey.
Why?
Because look across the generations, how many nominees there have been. Guaranteed it's not that many guys. And we just pick a player. Who was it? Bergeron, O'Reilly, and Couturier? Who wants to bet money at least two of those guys will be nominated next year?
Oh, Bergeron will be.
Bergeron will be. I think Couturier, now that he's in the conversation, is going to have a hard time leaving it. And Ryan O'Reilly earned this Selke nomination when he won the Conn Smythe last year.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? And none of them are bad picks, but it's just incredibly
Just
lazily voted on.
Okay, well then lazily pick one.
Bergeron.
Okay, Jesse.
Steve, to your point, since 2005, only 7 different guys have won the award.
Wow.
So that's, what is that, 15 years and 7 guys?
Years.
Yeah, and how many of those guys are Bergeron?
He's probably
Bergeron has 1, 2, 3, 4 Selkes, yeah.
When was his last one?
2017.
Wow. Oh, he's due.
Yeah, and last year, Ryan O'Reilly won it last year. So
Bergeron got nominated for the 2020 Selke in 2017.
I think, by the way, so who are you picking, Jesse? Who'd you say?
I'll take Ryan O'Reilly again, back to back.
Based on that Mark Stone video that Dmitry Filipovich put out, I think Mark Stone should win it. But it's going to be Patrice Bergeron this year because Boston was the number one. They were amazing all season. Has to be Patrice Bergeron because he's the heart and soul in that team, along with Marchand and Chara. Lady Byng. Now, can you define for me what the Lady Byng Trophy is for? Because we always forget this. There's a lot of hockey nerds going, I know. Okay, we get you. You know. Most people do not know. Nobody's like, oh, man, I'm really waiting around for the Lady Byng Memorial. So, what does the Lady Byng stand for?
It's the Gentlemanly Award.
That's right. Gentlemanly and sportsmanship.
Player adjudicated to have exhibited the best type of sportsmanship and gentlemanly conduct combined with a high standard of playing ability. So you're not a dick and you're good at hockey. Nathan
you can't
McKinnon.
Just be nice.
Yeah, you can't be nice. You got to be great. Nathan McKinnon, Austin Matthews, Ryan O'Reilly.
Now, I am going to pick Nathan McKinnon because I don't like the off-ice performances of the other 2 guys nominated for the Gentlemanly Award.
Right.
So
now,
I'm going to default to
Ryan, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago, and people are allowed, as bad as that was, we hope that people can grow from that, and we have to allow them space to do that. Is that fair?
Yes, sure. 100%.
But I don't think you can give it to Austin Matthews given what happened this offseason.
Yeah, I'm not even going to look up his numbers because the fact that he did that.
It's Nate Dogg.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Okay, so we're unanimous on that?
So I will go through his numbers, though. In 69 games.
He needs to go on a tangent.
Why?
It's very small.
Steve is about to prove to everybody, finally, that Nathan McKinnon is good at hockey. Here we go.
In 69 games, he had 35 goals, 58 assists, 93 points, just 12 penalty minutes.
Shit. Is he good at hockey?
Fuck yeah.
Steve, I love you so much, man.
Do you?
Now, the Jim Gregory Award. What is that one?
What?
The Jim Gregory Award. Can you guys tell me what the Jim Gregory?
Did they rename an award?
It used to be the Lester B. Pearson.
There we go. That one is. No,
wait. The Lester B. Pearson used.
Oh wait,
no,
I'm wrong. No,
yes,
the Jim Gregory Award is no. But what is the Jim Gregory Award?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
No, the Lester B. Pearson is now the Ted Lindsay.
Right. Sorry. Excuse me. I got this. So I have the notes in front of me and I still fucked it up. So the Jim Gregory Award is awarded to the best general manager in the league. There are no finalists, so you might pick one. Now, as Jeff Merrick always says, which Steve, you often repeat, what? Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
The award for GM of the Year is the Stanley Cup.
Correct. However, GM of the Year, who do you give it to? There are no finalists you can pick from anybody. Who had a sizzling year? And to me, easy. Joe Sakic.
Joe Sakic is pretty hard to argue.
That Nazem deal, boy.
It's one deal.
That can make the difference. And if those goalies don't go down, we're talking about the Avalanche and the Vegas Golden Knights. We're not talking about Dallas.
You know who I think should have maybe been in the Jack Adams conversation is Jared Bednar. Because the Avs were supposed to be good. Mm-hmm. Not with the injuries they had, for crying out loud.
Nope.
No, so...
The miracle they won, actually, they pushed it to 7.
He should be in the conversation. GM of the Year.
Who made some gnarly trades, bro?
Some gnarly deals?
Who unlocked both Blackberries in NHL 12?
What about Tampa? Like, what about Steve Yzerman?
Julien Brisebois?
Oh my God, you're right. Yeah, sorry. He's in Detroit now.
Yeah, Steve Yzerman is in Detroit.
Well, how about this? They traded JT Miller for a first-round pick and got better. That's pretty stupid. That's pretty stupid. The fact that the Tampa Bay Lightning are in the Eastern Conference Final, and now I'm looking. They don't have either of their first-round picks that they had this offseason. Mm-hmm. I'm now forgetting exactly who they had.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm gonna go with Julien Brisebois just because the Lightning are a freaking wagon. The fact he was able to keep that group together.
I'm gonna go with Don Sweeney for sticking with this crew. He made, I think, 2 trades. Got Nick Ritchie, got Andre Case at the trade deadline. Kasha, sorry. Now I say that.
Should be Case. What's his problem?
Yeah. Change your name.
You know, fair.
He can I award him for sticking with his crew? I think that's also a skill, knowing what you got and letting them do their thing. So I think if you win the President's Trophy with the guys you got and you add 2 important pieces like Kasha and Richie, I'm going to give it to Don Sweeney.
I think it's Brian Burke that always says sometimes the best moves you make as a GM are the ones you don't make. Or is it? Yeah, I think it was Berkey that said that. Anyway, I'm going to give it to Don Waddell. I think that team is just – and I give it to him like he didn't do anything crazy this year except for that Vinny Trocheck deal, which I think was robbery. And just based on that alone and the team that he's assembled, I'm such a fan of the Carolina Hurricanes. And I know that they didn't play the best, whatever, but I'm completely confident that next year – we're talking about the Carolina Hurricanes the same way we're talking about the Avs. They might go out in the second round, but they are on the upswing big time. Watch out for the Hurricanes. I give it to Don Waddell. I think he's assembled a hell of a team there. Okay, moving on.
Sorry, just because I said I don't know what the hell happened to their firsts. Mm-hmm. The Lightning used those firsts to get Blake Coleman and Barclay Goodrow.
Okay. Trade deadline. All right. So maybe you're right with Julien Brisebois. The Marc Messier Leadership / Cookie Award. No finalists. Who is your pick?
Shea Weber. Every year until he retires.
Jesse.
What?
Who is your pick?
He's just leadership.
So the leadership award?
For leading.
I think it should go to Marc Messier. He should get his own award for refusing to hold up a cookie above his head.
That's right. That's true leadership.
Leading off the ice. And
no, who do you actually give it to?
Leadership award? I got to think about it a little. You go ahead, Adam.
I'm gonna say, and this is gonna be an unpopular one. However, it could be his last season. Zdeno Chara.
I would like to agree with Adam and say Zdeno Chara.
And I think they're going to do that because Zdeno Chara is a great leader, and I don't know if he's won it before, and I feel like he should. And I think the writers probably who are voting on it, I think that's who votes on that one, probably think he should as well.
There's always a lifetime achievement award.
Yeah, and no one is going to look at that and go, well, that's stupid. Zdeno Chara could have won it every year.
Let me throw this out there. In the same way that a center, like a winger, should be able to win the Selke,
mm-hmm.
I think an assistant captain should be able to win it. Like, why does it have to be a captain?
Bergeron.
Bergeron's a good example, but who put their team on their back more than Nathan MacKinnon this year?
Pretty tough to disagree with that.
Landeskog was out of the lineup. Rantanen was out of the lineup, and he played his best hockey, A, in the playoffs, and B, when those guys were out of the lineup.
Yep.
He was an animal this year. To me, it's Nathan MacKinnon. But
Jesse?
I'll say
my pick would be Andersley. Because if we're gonna go with rewarding, like congratulating Barry Trotz for getting everybody to buy into the system, then we need to also congratulate the captain on getting his guys to also buy into the system. So I think getting everybody together, reward Andersley, give him that award.
Yeah,
Can you imagine they win the cup and he wins the Messier award?
Now these awards, we've got 5 more to go, but real quick, okay? These awards are going to be announced during the Stanley Cup Finals. We've got the Calder, Hart, Norris, Lindsay, Vezina, okay? So we're going to start with the Calder, and we're going to move quick. Quinn Hughes, Kubalik, Dominic Kubalik in Chicago, or Cale Makar. Who do you give it to? Quick, guys.
Cale Makar.
Kubalik. Cale Makar.
I'm going to give it to Cale Makar. He allowed But people talk about the Tyson Barrie trade like that's all it was. What allowed the Colorado Avalanche to get rid of their power play quarterback was them drafting and developing a better one in Cale Makar. So to me, Cale Makar had an enormous impact on the Avalanche roster. What about Quinn Hughes? Yeah, him too. But to me, it was Cale Makar all season.
Jesse.
Kubalik. 30 goals as a 7th-round pick, first year in the NHL. Also, I'm scared of Blackhawks fans. If I pick anybody, not Kubalik.
Yeah, but he's...
and I'm going to go...
Asterisk, he's 35.
It's true, but
I am going to go with Quinn Hughes, who is... I just hate Vancouver for him. Just hate him. Because that's exactly what the Leafs need. Quinn Hughes is the guy, and Quinn Hughes will win. That's my opinion. Hart Memorial. Leon Draisaitl, Nathan MacKinnon, Artemi Panarin. Not the last time that we will get the three of these guys together on an award. Now, this is player most valuable to his team as voted on by people outside the game. Who do you give it to?
Jesse?
Nathan MacKinnon deserves every award for everything. He was... by far the best player on his team, and he was just so far ahead of anybody else on the roster. The other guys were doing the exact same thing, except Nathan MacKinnon did it better.
Mm-hmm. Nate MacKinnon, same thing. I do think, though, I would not be shocked if it's Leon, but I think deservedly it goes to Nathan MacKinnon.
Okay, you're Edmonton Oilers fans. I'm Thanos. I'm going to snap one of Draisaitl or McDavid off your team. Who do you pick?
Draisaitl.
I'm going to Thanos snap the league MVP.
Yeah. McDavid's better. And he's more valuable, frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Come on. It's no disrespect to Draisaitl. And again, there's another guy who played his best hockey when McDavid was out of the lineup. Panarin, you go, oh my God, look at the stuff he did. MacKinnon did a better version of that. Nathan MacKinnon was the league's most valuable player this year. Easily.
James Norris Memorial, best defenseman, John Carlson, Victor Hedman, Roman Josi, Roman Yosi's an interesting one because
Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yeah, I don't know that he's performed quite as well as the Roman Josi we've seen in the past. I don't think he gets that one. I know Carlson's won it before. I think Josi has too.
I think he's been nominated. There's basically people expected Josi to suck after a while, and he just hasn't. That doesn't mean he's the league's best defender. Carlson, I think, showed in these playoffs why he's not the league's best defender. He's maybe the best offensive defenseman in the league. To me, it's Victor Hedman because Tampa, all the star power they have, we've really discovered over the past few months that Victor Hedman's the engine of that team.
Jesse.
I think history has proven that this is not the Norris Trophy. This is the, hey, who's the best offensive defenseman trophy? So I'm going to take John Carlson because of the 75 points he put up in the regular season. I think that's the way the writers are going to vote because, like I said, it's the best offensive defenseman award.
And I'm
so many points.
I'm going to say Hedman. And I say Hedman because not enough is made of Tampa Bay's defense. Not enough is made about their commitment to it. And that starts with Victor Hedman. The way he plays, the way he leads, the way he is on and off the ice. There is nobody that wanted to cut down on their high danger shots like the Tampa Bay Lightning, and that started with Hedman. And boy, if I'm Sergachev, having Hedman ahead of me, what a guy to learn from and what a guy to take the pressure off. Sergachev is as good as he is because he's got a guy like Hedman to take some of those great minutes away so I can develop properly. I think it's Victor Hedman all the way. Just my opinion, though. Now, we've got the Ted Lindsay Award, NHL's most outstanding player, as judged by the NHLPA. Draisaitl, MacKinnon, Panarin. Who do you think the players will vote for?
MacKinnon.
Yeah, you can take what I said before and copy and paste it over to this segment.
Cool. All right. Last one.
I will say this, because players will have a simpler version of the conversation we're having. They're not going to look at the numbers. They're all going to sit around and be like, dude, he's not even the best player on his team.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's super easy.
How is Connor McDavid not up for anything? Is that stupid? That's like LeBron James not being up for something. Like
you got to throw
Connor
him
McDavid. He'll win the Messier Award or something. He's got something.
At least give him like best original screenplay or
like, come on, really?
You know?
Connor McDavid?
Best art
sound
direction.
design.
Yeah.
Last award, Vezina Trophy. Winnipeg's Connor Hellebuck, Boston's Tuukka Rask, Tampa's Andrei Vasilevsky. All good choices. Who do you give it to?
I'll go. You got to give it to Connor Hellebuck, the guy who could have arguably also been nominated for the Lindsay of the Hart. He held up a Winnipeg Jets team that was just decimated on defense, and his numbers are fantastic.
The Jets, the Bruins, and the Lightning. What is the difference between them? The Bruins and Lightning are good teams. It's Connor Hellebuck. Done.
Same. I don't have anything to add. And you already know how big of a fan of Connor Hellebuck I am and how disappointed I was that he wasn't up for the Hart or the Lindsay or any of those. Talk about most valuable to his team. Like, come on. How do you not include Connor Hellebuck in that? He should win the Vezina. If he doesn't, it's a joke. That's a joke, frankly. He really should. So let's do the press conference quick. We got about 5-10 minutes for Jess.
5-10 minutes. Okay.
The Steve Dangle press conference.
First question, is Kyle Lowry a Hall of Famer?
Ooh. That booty is. Talk about that. That's a Hall of Fame ass right there.
That is true. He's Hall of Fame sports asses.
Oh, for sure.
Ashley Docking posted on Instagram, Lord, give me the ass of Kyle Lowry and the confidence of OG Anunoby.
That's a good tweet or Instagram. That's good.
It's great. I was thinking about him, like, I don't know if they're ever going to do like a Raptors Legends row, but he has to be the first Raptor in it.
He's one of one, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Build the statue now. It's already done.
First number retirement, I think.
I think it depends on what he does this season. Like, we'll see where these playoffs go. But the way he plays, I mean, I have to have a better sense of, because, like, here's the thing. Like, the NHL Hall of Fame, most people that make it in, you're like, yeah, they deserve that. With the Baseball Hall of Fame, it's like, this reliever was 51 and 47 or 51 and 60 and had an ERA of like 3.5 and he's in. And Larry Walker had a hard time getting in. So I think Kyle Lowry's like a Larry Walker pick, like outside shot for sure. No guarantees. But because I'm a biased Toronto sports fan, I want Kyle Lowry in the Hall of Fame. And therefore I think he should be.
Dude played in Canada. It's going to be tough.
Yeah. Going to be tough. Really tough.
This question is from Matt Grady on Twitter. Am I wrong for thinking Wayne Simmonds would be a slam dunk cheap signing for the Leafs?
You're wrong because he's not cheap.
I think cheap. You know what?
No, he's not. He's just not, guys. Like, he's not. Based on reputation alone, Wayne Simmonds is going to be a $3 to $5 million player. I think he's 3.5, 4. That's not cheap for the Leafs.
You don't think he takes a discount to play here?
No. This dude.
He can take a discount next season.
Fair.
This dude, I think you're on to something, Adam, in that he's probably going to be overpaid. This dude had 24 points in 61 games with the Devils, 68 games on the season. He had 25. Buffalo got him at the deadline, and in 7 games he had 1 assist. Like, I hope.
I'd love to.
I hope. I would absolutely love to have him here. I hope, with this long layoff, I mean, it's going to benefit players like him who have been sort of slowed down by injuries. I would love to see him on the Leafs, but for the amount of money he can command based on his reputation, I don't know.
He's not going to be a Leaf based on that.
Wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be cool for him to get his 500th point as a Leaf? He's sitting on 499.
Babs cool.
Well, it's a good thing Babs isn't the coach. Never play him.
Yeah.
Oh, you're about to break a record? How about we just don't play you?
You know how much a Mike Modano bobblehead costs? $14.99.
Boo.
Final question.
I actually really I liked it. Okay,
Final question. Final question comes from at Jesse Blake. At Jesse Blake wants to know, what are your thoughts on Chris Johnson going on Hockey Night in Canada on Saturday night and saying that Pierre Maguire has interviewed twice for the Arizona job and is being seriously considered for the position?
CJ, the C stands for content. Is good stuff there, CJ.
Delicious. I think my first reaction was, can you believe it, Steve?
I can.
I can. You know what's interesting, though, is he was sort of whispered about with Minnesota. People are stomping and yelling. I think he might actually be the GM there.
Well, and the fun part is that, like, do you remember when he talked about the winning streak that he went on with Hartford? And then Greg Wyshynski came out and he's like, actually, those games didn't go like that. And he's misremembering every game that he coached. Here's the thing. With the Coyotes leadership situation, they are non-hockey people. And they are looking at non-hockey avenues. And one thing you can say about Pierre, first off, really nice guy. Second, pretty knowledgeable. Third, great talker. And you need to have the ability to communicate what you need to do with the Coyotes. And I have to tell you, not everybody they've interviewed is a great communicator. And Pierre, for as much as he's maligned, is a pretty great communicator. That's why you know Pierre Maguire's name, is because he gets in your head. And you might disagree with him, but you know Pierre Maguire's voice, you know how he talks, you know what he says, and it's quotable. And I think that makes an impact when you're in an interview like that. I mean, God, he's been bandied about for 20 years. Like when he was on just TSN with Bob and Gord, like it was Pierre Maguire's name came up over and over and over again, and he just missed here, he just missed there. You know he wants it. I think he gets it.
And expectations are so low. Like for a lot of people, like he's going to get in there and be like most other GMs, and people are going to go, whoa, Pierre Maguire he's doing so much better than I thought he would. And let me just say this, every American listening to this show right now, you are cheering for the Arizona Coyotes to sign this guy as their next GM.
It's going to be fun.
Because it takes his mic off.
Well, and let me say this, beyond that, he's the first call I'm making if I'm a GM and he gets hired. He's the first call.
I don't think him as an AGM, like an AGM, an assistant GM, is that crazy. Because you just need someone in your front office who just knows everything.
Yep.
And like who's just really good at trivia.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And he's pretty good at it. Maybe not with his own Hartford Whalers, but with everyone else.
I think he gets the job, guys. I think he's a good communicator, and they need that in Arizona right now. It's a mess. So anyway.
Also, one other note, Mike Babcock did interview for the head coaching position in Washington.
He did officially.
Yeah. The Caps aren't going to put up with his shit. I think that would be a good rehabilitation for him. That being said, I think Gerard Gallant is a better fit for that team.
I agree. I don't think Mike Babcock and Alexander Ovechkin are going to get on if Ovechkin's playing, 18 minutes a game. I just don't think that's going to happen. So I don't know why Gerard Gallant keeps being let go, but I'm really a big fan of him. I
can't wait for the Caps to be like fifth in the fire.
Have the Panthers ever recovered from the Gerard Gallant firing?
No.
They were pretty good. You know what I mean?
They've never really been that good.
No, but they seemed like they were going somewhere.
Have they ever recovered from that one time they were okay for a bit?
Yeah. They haven't required starting a franchise.
They haven't really come back from firing Doug McLean at this point.
Before they won their division and then lost to John Tavares in 6.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the show for today. Thanks so much for listening. We will be back Wednesday. Enjoy your Labor Day on both sides of the border. And we will talk to you then. Anything else to add, guys? Cool. Mature, man.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake.
Connection complete.